What's up, sweet cheeks? Hi, sweet cheeks. Hello. Hi. Come on up. Yeah, my hands smell like steak, don't they? Ooh. Yes, they do.
Check, dog. Take a chance, have faith, my lad. You got all of the same tools all the greats have had. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth,
4
2
eyes.
hands. You can watch, listen, more do you speak. Take advantage, you peep. All the karma that come with making the cream, the crop. Full of demons providing you what you need, they got. What's your thing? Alcohol or the lean? Put the coke inside the weed, them niggas seasoning the greens. Rap game turned from the slingers to the fiends, but I'm in between, I mean. I ain't picking teams, but I had a dream like king. Fucking on this pretty little bit queen, I mean. Point me to the cheese, niggas talking cream. Park the car, I'm about to part the seas. And move a mountain for money, nothing keeping me from getting to you, getting to me. Marvin G, Tammy T. But get your eyes clean for something you have never seen.
Prior to coming to Tuskegee from high school, I went to college here, then Tuskegee Institute. While in college, I had a professor that I was really impressed with. He got me interested in politics. He was the first black councilman in the state of Tuskegee.
Take a chance, have faith, my lad. You got all of the same tools all the greats have had. Maybe lesser than that. Way back when I was putting on my football hat, this institution came recruiting little root for the stats. They set me in the room with my dad and it was cool, but when they left I was glad. And my pops was too. He said that's good as parenting. Reminded me about that place that did them nigga experiments on them black people, sharecroppers down in Alabama. Damn, it's not that far from Atlanta. It was the 1930s. They did them black folk dirty because of tan. A man was not a man, nigga. Your granny wasn't grand. A scam into the plan to go recruit a group of stupid niggas and shoot them up with syphilis instead of shoot to kill them. That's stupid different. The link that y'all trip to catch a nigga slipping, and for what? Cause we
Which is crazy because what he was just talking about right there, in the 80s, the government was abducting black people and injecting them with different fucking diseases. Or it wasn't the 80s, sorry, it was the 60s and 70s. The government was abducting black people and they were injecting them with different fucking diseases to see what would happen, and then they would release them back into the community. And that's why a lot of people feel as though a lot of like modern sexually transmitted diseases come from, which is pretty insane to think about.
Anyone with knowledge of that study would be terrified. But that study it demonstrated the inhumanity of man to mankind. I often say,
look, take a chance, have faith. You in last place, take a stand, but don't take the stand for your man's sake. Just a dad trying to put some ham on a damn plate. I be damned, don't feed the fam, nigga.
Damn straight.
Elbow rubs and handshakes from hands that tie ropes on necks and red states. Another dead black ass man, I need a damn break. They never gave us a chance, I had to take it. I need all the payments. For every day we suffer all the hatred. I want my granny to shoot the handies with Nancy Reagan. I want emancipation. Standing naked at the auction with my dick out hanging for reparations. No matter how much I said, they ain't hearing my voice. Cause as long as them crackers paying, ain't much of a choice. And you can shoot 1,000,000 J's, you probably never be joined. Nigga ran for 1,000,000 yards, you still 40 acres short.
Solid song. Shit was solid. Solid. Excuse me. You need an attack level of 5.
What you're about to hear is an excerpt from the criminal trial.
Bro, this guy
that was
needs to
held
make more
prosecute the murder
videos,
of
dude.
Heidi Bernadzikowski.
This guy's videos are the best. They're even better than Iwu's.
Testimony that you arranged for Heidi's murder via the internet. Did you do that?
Not at all. Not at all. I didn't have anything at all to do with Heidi's murder.
Why are you testifying?
I'm testifying because I want my family and friends, and I want Heidi's family and friends to know the truth.
The person you just heard testifying is a man named Stephen Cook. In July of 1990,
Let him cook!
Heidi Bernadzikowski met Stephen at a local pool club. The two hit it off to the point that Heidi went home with him that night. After living in a strict household with her parents for most of her life, Steve was essentially her knight in shining armor. And within days of meeting, the two moved in together. Let's fast forward to April 20th, 2000. After laying the foundation of their relationship for the past 2 years, the couple was ready to take things to the next level. They had even set up life insurance policies for themselves and were discussing plans of a summer wedding in Las Vegas. Steve had just finished his part-time shift.
Oh my
at
god.
Lowe's.
I'm looking at my Facebook. I was like going through some old Facebook messages just now. Oh my god, this is foul. I can't show the fucking exact message because of the chick's name and stuff. Like, I don't want to dox her. But there's this chick I was dating in high school,
downtown job as a receptionist.
and she
He then
messaged
dropped
me
her
a
off at home at around
screenshot of this
5:45
guy's
PM.
messages
He
to
went
her.
back out to
And he's
run some
like, yeah, I
errands,
beat my
and then
dick so hard
arrived home at
sometimes that
about
I got
8
scabs all
Moments
over it.
later, this phone
was like,
call
what
was
the
received by
fuck?
the Baltimore County Police Department.
What the fuck? Here, let's see if I can, like, figure out a way.
Did you just find her?
Right now.
Did
See
you
if I
just
can
find
figure
her
out
that
how to
was
show. This is
Yeah.
fucking the
What happened? Was
wildest
she
shit, bro.
shot?
I remember reading this when I was in, like, grade 11 or 12.
You don't have any idea how long she's been that way?
Oh my god.
Just that
What
somebody.
the fuck?
What's your last name,
Fuck
sir?
all of
Oh my
this.
god, my cook, are you sending somebody?
Yes, I am,
Just
okay?
somebody.
I'm going to. Just
Let
stay
me
with
see.
me, okay?
Oh my god, I can't stay with you. I gotta go to
Is there a weapon near her?
Oh, no way.
Are you sending somebody?
Hang on.
They're on the way, sir.
All right,
Okay,
all right.
now stay. I want you to stay with me.
No, I can't stay with you. I gotta go with her.
When the police arrived at the residence, they stumbled upon a gruesome crime scene. Heidi had been strangled, and her throat was cut. She had bled out so much
That's
that the blood had
crazy.
seeped through the floor and into
Yeah,
the
I don't think I'm
basement.
gonna be able to
Steve was
get these
holding her in
messages
his
without
arms,
doxing this
crying
chick.
uncontrollably. The police secured the scene and began investigating the rest of the apartment. The first pieces of evidence that they noted included Heidi's
was
purse belongings
fucking
dumped
funny,
onto the
though.
floor beside her, and a number 1 drawn on the wall with her lipstick. Looking at the disarrayed state of the other rooms, investigators also considered the possibility that this was a botched robbery. However, even though jewelry boxes and drawers were ajar, nothing of value seemed to be missing from the house. Heidi's body was taken up to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy where her fingernails were clipped and DNA was tested. In cases where there may have been a struggle leading up to the victim's death, fingernail clippings can be a crucial part of the investigation.
I wish my
The victim
fingernails
could have
had
scratched
nail-
the
my
assailant
fingers
or
had
otherwise
nails, dude.
acted so that a foreign
My
material
nails
was
don't grow.
deposited underneath her nails. While Heidi did in fact have trace amounts of a male DNA underneath her fingernails, her own DNA was also found, and they were not able to separate the 2 DNA profiles in order to accurately
Really?
identify a suspect. Meanwhile, Steve was brought
When
down to
did
the
this
police
murder take
station
place?
where they captured these photos. He claimed that
Holy
the blood on his
shit.
clothes was from performing
This
CPR
man
before calling
is
the police and
bloody.
holding Heidi after. During his questioning,
There's
Steve
no
gave a
way this
detailed
man
account
didn't
of
do
his
it.
afternoon leading up to the discovery of Heidi's body.
There's way too much blood
As
in
we
that guy for
previously
him not
mentioned
to.
in less detail, at 5:45
He's
p.m.,
fucking
Steve dropped
coded.
Heidi off at home after work as she really needed to use the bathroom. He then left to run some errands on his own. While he was out, he got his hair cut and his oil changed. He also went to Home Depot to get supplies to help fix his sister's plumbing. He then returned home at 8 p.m. and found Heidi's body. This timeline checked out since Steve had all of the receipts to prove it. Also on his side was surveillance footage along his route that captured him several times.
Oh,
However,
leveled up,
Steve
38.
did provide some
Let's go.
significant information. Leading up to Heidi's murder, there were a couple of suspicious
38,
incidents.
let's go.
The first incident was weeks earlier. Someone had come to Heidi's home, apparently interested in starting a neighborhood watch program. However, Heidi did not recognize this man from the neighborhood. She was slightly unsettled by this interaction, so she told her co-workers at the office about it and described the man as a large, either light-skinned black male or dark-skinned white male, with black
What?
hair and a tattoo on his left arm. She
How is
even drew the
that?
tattoo on a piece
What?
of paper. The second incident was just days before her murder. There were scratches around the basement door lock, as if somebody was tampering with it to gain entry. Steve immediately took action and went to the rental agency demanding that they changed the locks. There was one more thing that caught the investigators' attention. During Steve's questioning, they found out about his and Heidi's recently filed life insurance policies. What really piqued their interest was the amount. $900,000 on Steve and $700,000 on Heidi. Steve didn't seem to think that this was significant to the investigation, but the detectives thought otherwise. However, this wasn't damning enough to warrant an arrest, so they let Steve leave and kept him on their radar while they
that's
continued
fucking
their
sufficient
investigation.
fucking
Over the
motive.
next few weeks, police interviewed about 100 people, trying to find that mysterious suspect that Heidi spoke with at her front door. While there was one arrest made of a potential suspect, the charges were dropped due to a lack of evidence. At this point, the investigators came to a standstill, not for weeks or months, but for 11
They should have dove more into about the other arrest. Like, I want to know more about the other guy. Why did he get arrested for?
years. This is because there was no forensic
There'd be
evidence
something
to
that
tie
linked
any
them.
particular person to Heidi's murder. In 2004, Heidi's parents sued Steve under the Slayer's Rule for the $700,000 life insurance payout. The Slayer's Rule prohibits anyone who intentionally caused the death of the insured to collect life insurance benefits.
Two
The
more.
civil action was settled out of court when Cook agreed to pay the plaintiffs $575,000, about 10 minutes before
Level
he was able to
34, we need
testify.
one more level
Detectives
woodcutting
working
shot.
on the murder case considered the settlement an admission of guilt. Regardless, Steve seemed to move on over the years, getting married to a new woman and starting a family while working for the government in Veterans
Don't
Affairs.
tell me he kills
Over the
this
11
chick,
years
too.
that this case had gone cold, advancements in DNA technology allowed detectives to reopen a myriad of cold cases. One of those cases happened to be Heidi's, thanks to her fingernail clippings. After running the male DNA through their database, detectives got a hit. A man from Colorado, a state that is over 1,500 miles away from Baltimore, named Alexander Bennett. The sheer distance from the crime scene made detectives doubtful that this was their guy, but they called Colorado authorities, and the description that the clerk gave of Alexander Bennett matched Heidi's description of the suspicious man who came to her door. Either a light-skinned black man or a dark-skinned Caucasian man with black hair and a tattoo on his left arm. However, for this to truly be their guy, they had to somehow place Alexander Bennett from Colorado in Baltimore at the time of Heidi's murder 11
Which is
years
going to be
ago.
fucking hard
The
to
detectives
do.
decided to search an internal Maryland database that reveals information about past traffic stops and discovered another hit by typing in Alexander Bennett's name. Apparently, Alex was found walking on the side of the highway in Baltimore, but the only information that was logged during this stop was his date of birth. Even though this was enough to convince the detectives of Alex's whereabouts at the time of Heidi's death, this tidbit of information wasn't sufficient for the state's attorneys.
Yeah, it
So,
doesn't
their next
really
big option was to go straight to the source. The detectives
put
packed
him
their
in
bags and
the
took a
area.
trip to
Like, it puts
Colorado
him in the
to
area,
meet
but-
with Alex.
Alexander, right? Mm-hmm. I'm Gary Childs. How you doing?
According to Alex, he had plans to go to a concert with some friends, but at some point he was abandoned and spent the next month or so living on the streets of Baltimore.
He was
couldn't recall
abandoned?
any other information
What the
from
fuck?
this time.
I tell you, that's strange.
That's why it is strange. It
real
is.
strange.
I
And
have
not to remember anybody you stayed with or hooked up with or
Keeping things vague wasn't working out for the detectives due to Alex's failing memory, so they finally got down to brass tacks.
this girl's fingernails were taken at the time of her death.
Mhm.
And under their fingernails is your DNA. Now there's no denying it.
Alex rebutted this confidently, saying that he could explain why his DNA was found under Heidi's fingernails. He recalled an incident that happened during his time in Baltimore. While waiting at a bus stop one day, a woman randomly came up to him and started attacking him, clawing at his face.
I got kind of scared because I was trying to fight back, and I think I hurt her. I'm not sure.
The detective then pulls out pictures of multiple different women, with a picture of Heidi included. With Alex having full recollection of his bus stop story, the detectives are hoping that he will recognize Heidi's picture out of all of them. And that is exactly what he does.
It also, too, kind of looks like her.
Do you have any tattoos on your left arm?
Yeah.
Can I see it? For you to have been in Baltimore at the exact time this occurs, for your DNA to be there, for this tattoo to be on your arm, the exact location that the victim describes it as being, and actually drew it. I mean, that's just a lot of coincidences.
That's a profound thing, so...
That's a profound thing. This
That's
guy
what I'm
sounds like he
concerned.
was into mushrooms and shit.
Well, really should
Sounds like a
be.
space cadet.
I'm concerned.
Am I being, like, charged with anything right now.
Some like really heavy
you're not charged with
hallucinogens
it
or
right
some
now.
shit.
But I'm telling you, things are not going good.
I've given you all the explanation. I've told you everything, and you know, like I said, if we're done here, I mean, I have a lot of stuff to do today.
Unfortunately, the detectives
You ain't
couldn't get a
done
confession out of Alex, but he did suggest that the detectives speak to a character witness, a man named Grant Lewis. Grant Lewis was a longtime friend of Alex's, and 9 years earlier in 2003, the two were even accomplices in another crime. They had devised a plan to steal Alex's roommate's car by getting him arrested. The plan was to call in a threat to the Colorado courthouse. They even went as far as making real explosives and then tried to make it look like Alex's roommate was working on these explosives inside the courthouse. They then uploaded documents related to how this device was built to his computer to help ensure his arrest. While he was in prison, that is when they planned to steal his car. The roommate was arrested, but the detective eventually played the 911 call for him to hear, and he immediately recognized Grant's voice. Alex and Grant confessed to everything once they were confronted by law enforcement, and they were ultimately sent to prison to carry out their sentences.
Bro,
Anyway,
that's like the
detectives were able to
craziest
get Grant
fucking
in the
like
interrogation
diabolical
room to
shit.
question him.
To get someone arrested so you can steal their car.
Unfortunately, Grant seemed to prevaricate when questioned about Alex and his time.
And
in
your
Baltimore.
idea of getting them
And since
arrested
he
is
wasn't
making
under
them be a
arrest,
terrorist.
He was able to walk out without further questioning. Luckily for the detectives, they were able to detain Grant and bring him back in for more questioning due to some outstanding petty crime charges.
I think you don't want to tell me certain things because you don't want to hurt a friend of yours. And what I'm trying to explain to you is nothing you say hurt him because what's done is done.
Eventually, the pressure got to Grant, and he revealed a drunk conversation that he had with Alex down by a river one night.
He said, I don't know. No. And he said that they think someone's dead. I think that's how he said it. They think someone's dead. And then he said, I know for someone.
This admission was the tipping point needed to finally charge and arrest Alex. It wasn't long before Alex was extradited to Maryland, where he would go to trial. 2 years later, the trial finally began, with Grant Lewis as a key witness for the prosecution. One of the detectives even picked him up from his
this guy wanted to be arrested
hotel
so
to have
bad he
breakfast
said,
with
go
him before
talk to
his
my friend I
testimony.
confessed
However,
to.
it was at that
Like,
moment
what?
that Alex's attorneys reached out to the detectives and told them that Alex was ready to talk after having a heart-to-heart with his mother over the phone. She had told Alex that if he did do this crime, now was the
Alright,
time
let's
to
go.
confess,
Chat right
and
there.
Jesus would forgive him of
39
his
fire
sins.
making.
The detectives rushed Grant back to the
Look at that.
hotel before heading to the courthouse to speak with Alex
Stare at
once
it.
again.
All right, Alex. You all right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Plan of
mesmerized by it.
Baltimore just came up, abruptly when Grant was discussing about receiving money to kill somebody.
According to Alex, Grant Lewis, the star witness for the prosecution, the person the detectives were sharing bagels with that morning, was hired by an unknown man to kill Heidi. He then brought Alex on board as the muscle.
I know from the client, from the person, emphasized to Grant, and Grant emphasized to myself that it needs to look like an accident.
When Alex made it to Baltimore, he had some time to kill before getting further instruction from Grant, so he decided to scope out his victim. He admitted to being the suspicious neighborhood watch guy who spoke to Heidi weeks before her death, as well as trying to break in the night before.
But I do remember her answering the door.
Did you go to the door and talk to her more than once?
It was just that one time.
Just the one time.
After about a month of walking the streets of Baltimore, Alex received the green light from Grant. He broke into Heidi's house and hid behind the front door.
Got off the phone with Grant because the message was it's gonna happen soon. I ran over there. I hear the red car pull up. Came and was unlocking the door.
Cutting trees. Fuck.
She opened the door, saw me, panicked. I panicked and rushed at her at the front and, try to muffle her scream. She's clawing at me. She clawed at my lip, scratched my lip. At that point, I had my hand on her mouth and I was holding her throat, crushing her larynx, her throat, trying to kill her. And I just remember eventually she was passing out and losing consciousness. Then I had like turned her around and had her, you know, her back was on my back. And
One more log, baby.
You know, choking.
And this 35. Bang. Let's go. Let's go. Now we're just gonna light these on fire real quick.
Make sure that she was dead. So I wasn't sure if she was dead, but I know she wasn't breathing. And I just kept doing it to make sure. And I was still, you know, choking to make sure that she
Rocky,
was dead.
do you want to know the room,
She
dude?
then went limp. That's when I had the knife.
Hey?
And to make sure, had cut her. Now, my plan was to just try to get her and like still make it look like an accident. You know, like maybe.
Yeah, make it look like an
snap
accident.
her
Someone
neck or something,
accidentally
look like she
slit
fell
there.
down the stairs or something.
Bro. Of course.
Started wiping down doorknobs. And
Of course.
I, like, pulled some of the doors, the drawers of the dresser ajar.
He then told the detective that the number 1 on the wall was also part of his attempt to mislead detectives. After admitting to killing Heidi as part of a hit organized by Grant, the detectives wanted to hear Grant's side of the story, so they picked him up from the hotel and brought him in for further questioning. They began by telling him the good news, that Alex just confessed.
Grant, you're in the middle of this thing.
I'm not in the middle of this.
All right. You sent him to Baltimore.
I didn't send him to Baltimore, but I know more about
Curry
this than
tree
I said.
seed?
I will
Interesting.
work with you in any way that I can, but if I didn't have anything to do with that, with him, what he
Hey,
did
it's the
was
captain himself, Shawnee.
committing
What's
a
up?
murder.
Alright, now what do we gotta do here?
What
I think we gotta get
my
thieving
situation
levels,
as far
right?
as
If
that
I'm not
goes.
mistaken.
That's not the
I
way
just
the
want to
game's
know
played,
that
bro.
After some back and forth, revealing more and more details from Alex's confession along the way, Grant eventually agrees to talk.
I lost a lot of people, and it's kind of a side subject, but something about something that made me, you know, think initially like, there's these people out there, and they're hiring people to kill people.
Grant proceeded to explain that he never meant to have anybody killed at all, and that it was all part of an elaborate scheme to raise money to open a nightclub. Grant set up an ad online for professional and discreet house cleaning services.
So somebody contacts you back.
Mhm.
What does he say?
Something to the effect that he was looking for probably a hit or something.
And as a result, one of the only
Yeah.
people that come back to you is a guy from here.
hmm
And he says,
Yeah, I remember him sending an email where he said, "Well, I could pay 5,000 up front, and then more afterwards or something for a hit, more or less."
Thieving level, let's go.
And then yeah, and
Level
that's
6.
basically what we were looking for was that first set of the down payment, and then we're good to go after that.
Apparently, Grant's intention was to scam people reaching out for hits by taking their down payment and then turning them into the authorities, running off with their money in the process.
He was
Hey, finally live.
supposed to
Yo,
go,
Alex, to be honest, like I
um,
smoked a toke earlier, and I
tomorrow
forgot I
to
was
talk to
going
this
live. I
guy
just sat here watching
and,
YouTube videos, and I was just like, oh
pick
shit,
up
I made a
some
live?
funds for him.
What? But I
for,
listened to that song at the beginning of the video. Pretty good.
For what this guy was looking at as a contract murder.
It was a banger.
There was
Oh, show.
not supposed to be any fulfilling or anything. You know, you get their money and then turn them in.
The detectives believed that Grant was lying about this and that he was merely trying to escape the consequences of the crime that was carried out. Some of you may be wondering, who hired Grant to kill Heidi? The detectives had the same question while speaking to Alex.
did you
Oh, unstructured? Yeah.
At some point when I called Grant, he had told me that the client.
My
wanted
man's
to
got
meet me
lyrical
at his
flow.
house
Level
to
8 chat.
discuss the plan of how everything would go down. I did meet with the person.
The detective proceeds to bring in pictures of several different men and asks Alex if he can point out the person he met with. Alex immediately eliminates 4 of the pictures and takes a closer look at the final 2. The person that Alex pointed out as the culprit was none other than Stephen Cook, Heidi's boyfriend. Apparently, Steve had offered Grant and Alex $60,000 if they actually carried out Heidi's murder, but neither of them ever saw a dime of that money. Following these interrogations, Steve was arrested for first-degree murder, and Grant
What? Yo, my boy Cook there. I was wondering what was up with him. What? No fucking way. That's wild. Yeah, let's go in here. Boom, boom. Oh. Throw that there. So we got 11. We need 4 more bread. 4 bread, chat. 4 bread. 4
conspiracy to commit contract murder.
You know that saying, always trust your first instinct? Well, Baltimore County Police say their detectives followed their gut for 14 years and finally cracked a cold case, a murder, which they revealed today was actually
Rocky, did I not open the door for you? I'm such an asshole.
Is live in the newsroom to
Glad you found a comfy spot on the bed, though, bud.
Well, Kate, investigators say that their first hunch about the victim's boyfriend, Stephen Cook Jr., turned out to be right. And they say that one of the men that Cook allegedly hired to carry out the murder helped them solve the case. It was April of 2000. 24-year-old Heidi Bernadzikowski was found dead in the Dundalk townhouse that she shared with her boyfriend, Stephen Cook Jr. Investigators say that she'd been strangled and her throat was slit. Police always believed that Cook was behind the murder, but they never proved it, and the case turned cold. Eventually, police did charge someone with the murder, a man named Alexander Bennett. He was charged in January of 2012 after police said they found DNA evidence linking him to the crime. Now, this week, investigators say that Bennett started talking and pointed his finger at Stephen Cook Jr. 14 years after the murder. Cook was arrested at his home in Pasadena this week. Investigators say that when he started planning the murder, he got online and hired 2 men from Colorado, 35-year-old Grant Lewis, who was the middleman, and Bennett, who police say actually made the trip to Dundalk to kill Bernadzikowski. Detectives believe that it was all about money for Cook. They say that he planned to cash in a $700,000 insurance policy that he had taken out on Bernadzikowski just before she was murdered. Neighbors in Pasadena who didn't want to be identified said that Cook seemed like an ordinary guy.
That sounds like a death
sentence. Police to complain about
God.
loud noises and disruptions in the neighborhood.
Once they were faced with charges, Alexander Bennett made a plea deal that required him to testify against Grant and Stephen. While behind bars awaiting trial, Steve had met a cellmate, struck up a conversation with him, and ultimately tried to solve one of his problems the only way he seems to know how, by hiring a hitman. He tried to convince his cellmate to kill Grant, who was in the same facility. The cellmate didn't hesitate to tell the authorities when he had the chance, and agreed to wear a wire during another conversation with Steve.
Run! I gotta talk to you. Hey, Steve. You got a problem.
Cool.
There's 2 Osrs on here. What the name? Okay.
This operation worked, and Steve was charged with witness intimidation and attempted murder. Putting those charges aside, Steve's trial for Heidi's murder began. During the trial, Steve's defense attorney argued that the entire case against him was circumstantial, and that there was zero evidence that he hired someone to kill Heidi through the internet. In fact, during the investigation back in 2000, the detectives didn't even check Steve's computer for evidence. It simply wasn't as common to look through computers for evidence during that time period. The defense's alternative theory for why Alex had killed Heidi was that they had met in a chat room online, and after flying to Maryland and being met with unrequited love, he snapped. They said one of the reasons that this made more sense was because of this crime scene photo. The defense asked the jury if Alex's story was true, that he was given a key from Steve and had jumped Heidi when she arrived home. Then why was her bag and keys neatly placed on the desk? The only piece of evidence that the state's entire case relied on, Steve's attorney argued, was testimony from the killer himself, Alex Bennett. During the trial, cameras were not allowed, but audio recordings were. And when Alex was asked by the defense why he decided to change his initial story, he said that he now felt it was the right thing to do.
I wanted to be a human being. I wanted to give a family some type of peace. I wanted to have faith enough and to grow up into a man and to accept
and take responsibility for what I did.
Alex proceeded to explain his side of the story, but this time in front of the jury. To combat Alex's testimony, the defense told the jury this narrative, that Steve was the mastermind behind Heidi's death, was merely fabricated because without it, Alex would have no way out of a life sentence. The state argued that the motive for Steve killing Heidi was greed. It all went back to the insurance policies purchased right before Heidi's death. The couple had one red Honda Civic between them, which was owned by Heidi. They weren't married, had no children, had virtually no valuable belongings, and Steve worked part-time at a Lowe's. Basically, they argued that there was nothing to insure. So why would Steve want these large insurance policies, unless it was to line his pockets? The defense, however, found this sentiment to be ridiculous, and Steve addressed it during his testimony.
We were going to start a family, we were going to have children, and I wanted to make sure that there was enough money for Heidi in case I died. Heidi then asked me if it was all right if she could get $700,000 worth of life insurance. And I said, fine.
Apparently, just days before Heidi's murder, she had pushed through some documents for the life insurance policy. Steve's defense inquired why she would do something like that if she was truly planning to leave.
Mr. Cook, you keep saying that you and Heidi are going to get married, but we've heard from other individuals that she was thinking about leaving you.
I've never heard anything like that till now.
No, Steve, you've heard through testimony that you arranged for Heidi's murder via the internet. Did you do that?
Not at all. Not at all. I didn't have anything at all to do with Heidi's murder.
Why are you testifying?
I'm testifying because I want my family and friends, and I want Heidi's family and friends to know the truth.
Both sides rested their case, and after a day and a half of deliberations from the jury, they had reached a verdict. Stephen Cook was found guilty for the first-degree murder of Heidi Bernadzikowski. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 30 years for the attempted murder of Grant Lewis. A jury also found Grant Lewis guilty for the first-degree murder of Heidi, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Due to Alexander Bennett's plea deal, rather than life, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
30 years, he's still gonna be like fucking 70 years old when he gets out. He's gonna be institutionalized. Like, homeboy's got no chance. It's pretty diabolical murder, though. Always for some life insurance, man, I swear. It's crazy. Come on. Let's go. Steal me these cakes.
They hold the spawns though. The break well, also to perfection. Nasty wants to get
Ooh, I think Bill got a little too aggressive there.
He's got the intel, but unfortunate for him, no.
Yeah, let's see what the break looks like. Good start. Cruise missile. He's 2 off. Good discipline there. They're kind of just running into the guy. Oh, he's not going to get it.
What a bit of damage he's managed to do. Get his boys a little bit closer to the hard point. It's a single avenue of attack right now for the Thieves. In they go. Krem's going to be the tip of the spear. Gets nothing out
I'm not liking until Scump teaches me how to Dougie, then I guess you're not liking the stream. We'll forever be waiting for that like.
Good.
Level right there. Level what? 15.
Yeah, Thieves
total level
man.
1.2.
Now they're holding them from the front. This is not good if you're Vegas. Getting outslayed here hard.
Okay, Joe. Because Joe Deceives is the man that can hold the iron. This is a already gargantuan lead.
Oh, they gotta do this, and we steal some silk. I gotta make sure I bank the silk this time. I fucked up before and didn't bank it.
This is a break situation. It's going to be LA Thieves with the hold. And frankly, a full 60 on a P3 could be devastating for this game.
An explosive start here for the Thieves. Streaks as well to be played with. New hard points up. P3 at the ready. We're on the outside bar.
It's a clean hold.
This is the money hill. Can the Thieves cash in? Vegas, though, looking to change the odds. A 2-2 split.
Oh, it's a good setup by the Thieves. Hold on. Thieves might be 6-star gods.
That's Joseph Deceives.
Yeah, Vegas can't
actually having his way on the map.
Front too. They're not even really going around the back. Now they're going to try. No, they're not. They're going to face smash front again. I don't think it's going to work. No.
Vegas were not coordinated.
5 more levels.
2 like sets of players on 2 different pages, and well, if you're trying to split the war like that, you're just gonna have.
And seeing this map,
no
early
success.
stages,
So
this looks like a
that
little
was the
chain that you could probably put teams in. That
for LA
P1,
Thieves to
trap
really
them back
run this
P2,
score
and then
up,
hold P3. I mean, we could see this could be a pretty normal thing here, honestly. Just seeing how the map plays, like you can hold them in the back on P2. Get a good hold.
All the time in the world.
100-point lead.
And they have 3 players right now going on a world tour. Gio, though, distant in the corner, at least able to pick up the first one before he gets traded, so they've got the intel.
Playing this map with an AR looks kind of fucking. You see it where Gio was laying back there?
Yeah, I'd much rather prefer a
to get a kill.
Platform side, it's an all
striker
angles attack from
on
the
G8.
thieves. In they go from upstairs. You got a couple of places to work from here. Nasty with a suppression keeps Nero down. Purge right into the point, gets taken care of. His Kremp and Joe in the feed.
It's 2 for 2. Hold on.
To answer back, and the thieves get the
And
break.
Thieves
all red, man.
Oh my!
Thieves are absolutely frying. 11-3 for Nasty. Nobody positive for Vegas.
Hey, get wild, Cramp. Yep.
They're
Get
not reading
wild.
this either. He might get caught.
Oh, he breaks the glass.
Go back
though.
up. Fuck it. Yep.
Oh, wow. He doesn't give a fuck.
And there it is. He gets the cruise.
Well, for his team,
Damn.
all guns forward. They took so much time to go on that pinch and set up the break.
There we go. Level 16.
Nasty 12-3.
Absolutely perfectly. This is without question the best hard point these
What?
guys have played all year.
All year without a doubt, and it's not done yet. 11-6 for the young Joe Deceives, a team that has a very, very young average age. But they are looking
All right,
like
is this
vets out
Vegas'
there
first
now on
opportunity,
6-star.
really?
Over to the pool we now go. A quick dip is all they're going to get, though, because Vegas, they managed to get in there first. The cruise, though, is going to cause quite the splash.
Oh!
What the?
Yeah, he just lost
That's
composure.
the dumbest thing I've seen all day. That's
He just lost composure.
Hey, yo.
Whoa.
It's a fucking skyscraper there, bud.
Oh, dear. Well, in the meantime, Vegas have maintained full
I lose
control.
my fucking mind,
Dude, he just got cheesed so
That's
hard.
hilarious.
From the backside of the pool to try to hold the
But
ball.
they still find their way into the hill.
Yeah, Vegas look terrible right now.
They have no idea that it exploded maybe a half a second in.
Perhaps
And
a
this is
Thieves
still
map
just
pick?
continued absolute
I would've been
destruction
pissed,
by the
bro.
Thieves. 140-point lead, and it looks like they're going to get the final 15 seconds on old time as well. I don't know what it's
Oh.
going to take for a comeback
From the
Vegas,
water.
but I just don't
Sideways
think they
gun.
have a choice in the matter. Thieves right now, they can simply do no wrong.
No wrong whatsoever. The feet are certainly up. The drinks are still cool as we get back over towards the bar in our second set of hard points. We've gone around the world.
Nasty is 17-6.
Joe Deceives 14-9. It's tremendous.
18-6.
And he wants more.
And Nasty
Damn!
is going, yeah, no problem whatsoever. Purge, the man in the point, not having a fantastic time here on 6-star.
I think nobody is especially attached. Yeah, 6 and 11. Attach has barely been taking gunfights, 17 engagements. You don't even have 50 points as a team yet. Talk about a team that cannot find their footing, getting anything going, and Kremp is just calling out. There are 3 players in this little room.
Oh, this is just a
Joe Deceives gets to
bloodbath.
catch
Yeah,
them
we
on
might
the
see a
cost, and
50-point
this is
club
just
here.
I sure hope we do.
continued
They're doing the same thing to him. They might trap him back P2 again.
Mark, we're just brain boxers, man. We were feeling Thieves, and so far it's just such a lock.
Shut down, but Vegas, they just have
Such a
nothing
drew.
going for them.
A superb blowout so far, 210 to 4.
And be lots of cake stealing, chat.
Now roll top right-hand side of the minimap, and
In
that's
our
gonna be all
future.
Thieves.
Lots of
Look at this
cake
pitch.
stealing.
Good.
The spawns are not good for Vegas as well, so the reinforcements will be late to the
And that's a
fight.
clean
They're
four.
winning.
That's
Actually,
all
might
their
be a
ones.
50-point club.
Yeah, it's
Immediate
GG.
break. This could be game right here and now.
And he's going to clear out the
Nasty,
back
let's
spawns
slow
as
it
Alright,
down.
I gotta
man.
take
We're
a
trying to get
piss.
the FGW
So
buffed. We're,
fucking bad.
buffed again.
But make sure you guys pack your
You
bongs.
from the front. They
Get
might
your
make it a little
tokes
more
ready,
respectable. Let's
'cause
not
when I
act
get
like
back,
this is doable. However, this game is over.
Yeah, they're just delaying.
trigger up, Nade's out and about and just waiting for the moment to strike.
He slides into the vent. Oh my god, it's gonna be a 50-point club.
50-point club.
Piece and might be the moment where Joe Deceives calls game.
It just looked like they had such a tremendous disadvantage.
Vegas might be vetoing this.
And with that, a last-ditch attempt.
Joe fucking Deceives.
Yeah, Joe.
And he ends it off.
22 and 11. He's screaming. Oh shit!
Hold on, Thieves.
They're getting loud in LA.
Hold up.
Oh, he said the fuck about it.
Hard point. Look at him now. One of the most dominant victories.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
The most dominant victory we have seen in this
Yo,
game all
it's
year.
map 1, brother.
What the fuck?
It's map 1, brother.
He's
Chill.
still going.
He hit him with this.
It's like some 6 Mile shit. It looks like he's on stage. 8 Mile, sorry.
Hey.
6 Mile.
Of a performance, and that is
Yo.
all 4 players felt like
Oh
they were
my
in their
god.
complete clockwork.
I hope they win this series after
What did
that.
you
Or-
say?
The hills they're able to
He did this. He was doing this. Fucking
absolutely perfect, sending 3
He's out of his
players to
mind.
go down Gio in the back.
Yeah, no one positive for
He was
Vegas.
Flawless performance through and through. Really just poor
2
Vegas
players,
not
double
even
pause for
opportunities to
Thieves.
shoot their
Nasty and
gun.
Joe went crazy.
Really not able to cook anything up.
Not cooking whatsoever. Those boys were ordering out.
Yeah, someone said they're no, they didn't offer me gifted. They say, or they said they're not liking the stream until I Dougie.
There he is.
Alright, I'm out.
Hey.
Okay, kids. I see you out there.
I'm out.
Whether it was these vent plays, Charles, the bait and switch we saw here, it was a masterful display of pace.
I see you out there.
And right there is where I check the fuck out. There's really not much to talk about within that map. I mean, they chain them from P1 to P2 to P3. They get a 100-point lead, and then from that point on, I mean, they just slay the shit out of them. Right here is where it really gets broken open, because this is really Vegas's first chance to get a hill.
I mean, they just made it look so easy. Oh, no. When Kremp initially called this in, I was trying to think. Like we've
Yeah, you guys like that one?
It's like kind of off to the right. It seems like where the spot normally comes in. I don't know if it's like the direction.
AI Scump is the coolest scump. Dude, I'm not hitting that in real life. I'll tell you that. There's no way.
Yeah, that's going to be something we'll go over, I'm sure.
I don't even know if I can hit that in real life.
Chat shows will be talking about
Oh, you want to go viral?
break that one down, but we'll see if we can
Yeah,
avoid
Mark's
that
money is
situation
different.
again. I mean, the Super Destroyer's position typically does affect the angle at which your goodies come in, but in this case, the boys were pumped. I mean, you think they just
But you
won
gotta
the
leave a like
series,
now.
so They smoked him in that hard point. Whoa, what did Kremp say? Lip reading,
You hear
please.
that?
Purge, not
That's
impressed.
Diet Pepsi calling Zin's name.
You know, that's something you mentioned, Maz, is like how the average age of this LA Thieves team.
Hey, you gotta leave a like now. I did hit the Dougie. It wasn't me, but technically
All right,
I did
baby.
hit the Dougie. I'm good, Zin.
I'm
Thank
good,
you.
kid. Appreciate you.
Doesn't matter. They're going to come out with some fierceness, and again, right from the open.
Folks? The day I say no to a toke is the fucking day I die. Or just don't have anything to smoke. One of those. One of those. Cheers. Delicious. Alright, I'm putting on some Lord of the Rings chat. I really... Yeah. I need me some LOTR in my life. I need me some LOTR.
Frodo woke and found himself lying in bed. At first he thought that he had slept late, after a long unpleasant dream that still hovered on the edge of memory. Or perhaps he had been ill, but the ceiling looked strange. It was flat, and it had dark beams richly carved. He lay a little while longer, looking at patches of sunlight on the wall, and listening to the sound of waterfall. Where am I? And what is the time? He said aloud to the ceiling.
In the house of Elrond. And it is 10 o'clock in the morning, said a voice. It is the morning of October the 24th, if you want to know.
Gandalf! Cried Frodo, sitting up. There was the old wizard, sitting in a chair by the open window.
Yes, he said, I am here. And you are lucky to be here too, after all the absurd things you have done since you left home.
Frodo lay down again. He felt too comfortable and peaceful to argue, and in any case he did not think he would get the better of any argument. He was fully awake now. and the memory of his journey was returning. The disastrous shortcut through the
About
old
to get
forest,
another level here.
the
Let's
accident
go.
at the prancing pony, and his madness in putting on the
18.
ring in the dell under the weathertop. While he was thinking of all these things and trying
Tokes,
in vain
let's
to bring
go.
his memory down to his arriving in Rivendell, there was a long silence, broken slowly by the soft puffs of Gandalf's pipe as he blew white smoke rings out the window. Where is Sam?
I'm not a big enough toke for a
Frodo
smoker.
asked at length. And are the others all right?
Yes, they are all safe and sound, answered Gandalf. Sam was here until I sent him off to get some rest about half an hour
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
What happened at the ford? Said Frodo. It all seemed so...
What's
doomed
happening?
somehow,
Choking the chicken, homie.
and it still does.
Yes, it would. You are beginning to fade, answered Gandalf. The wound was overcoming you at last. A few more hours and you would have been beyond our aid. But you have some strength in you, my dear Hobbit, as you showed in the barrow. That was touch and go, perhaps the most dangerous moment of all. I wish you could have held out at Weathertop.
You seem to know a great deal already, said Frodo. I have not spoken to the others about the barrow. At first it was too horrible, and afterwards there were other things to think about. How do you know about it?
You have talked long in your sleep, Frodo, said Gandalf gently. And it has not been hard for me to read your mind and memory. Do not worry. Though I said absurd just now, I did not mean it. I think well of you, and of the others. It is no small feat to have come so
19.
far,
One more level
and
till
through
we're
such
on
dangers,
to.
still bearing the ring.
We should
Let's
never
get
have done it
90.
without Strider. But we needed you. I did not know what to do without you.
What kind of guy
I was
is there?
delayed, said Gandalf.
Let's
That nearly
go.
proved our ruin. And yet I am not sure.
Yo, I definitely
It
want
may
to
have
talk
been
to my
better
boy
so.
Leo here.
I wish you would tell me what happened.
All in good time. You are not
Yeah,
supposed
let's
to
do
talk
it,
or
Leo.
worry about anything today. By
You're
Elrond's
on your
orders.
third beer? Nice.
But talking would
Let's
stop
go.
me thinking and wondering, which are quite as tiring, said Frodo. I'm wide awake now.
Have one for
I
me.
remember so many things that want explaining. Why were you delayed? You ought to tell me that at least.
You will soon hear all you wish to know, said Gandalf. We shall have a council, as soon as you are well enough. At the moment, I will only say that I was held captive.
You? Cried Frodo.
Yes, I, Gandalf the Grey, said the wizard solemnly. There are many powers in this world, for good or for evil. Some are greater than I am. Against some I have not yet been measured. But my time is coming. The Morgul Lord and his Black Riders have come forth. War is preparing.
Then you knew of the riders already? Before I met them?
Yes, I knew of them.
Oh,
Indeed, I spoke of them once to you, for the Black Riders are the Ringwraiths, the 9 servants of the Lord of the Rings. But I did not know that they had arisen again, or I should have fled with you at once. I heard news of them only after I left you in June. But that story must wait. For the moment we have been saved from disaster by Aragorn.
Yes, said Frodo. It was Strider that saved us. Yet I was afraid of him at first. Sam never quite trusted him, I think. Not at any rate until we met Glorfindel.
Gandalf smiled. I have heard all about Sam, he said. He has no more doubts now.
Oh, I am glad, said Frodo. For I've become very fond of Strider. Well, fond is not the right word. I mean, he is dear to me. Though he is strange and grim at times. In fact, he reminds me often of you. I didn't know that any of the big people were like that. I thought, well, that they were just big and rather stupid. Kind and stupid like Butterbur, or stupid and wicked like Bill Ferny.
We want zombies?
But then we don't know much about men in the Shire.
Yeah, good luck with that
except
one,
perhaps
homie.
the Brelanders.
You don't know much even about them if you think old Barliman is stupid, said Gandalf. He is wise enough on his own ground. He thinks less than he talks, and slower, yet he can see through a brick wall in time.
You're at the wrong channel if you want zombies,
But there
dog.
are a few left in Middle-earth like
Sorry.
Aragorn, son of Arathorn. The race of kings from over the sea is nearly at an end, and maybe that this War of the Ring will be their last adventure.
Do you really mean that Strider is one of the people of the old kings? Said Frodo in wonder. I thought they had all vanished long ago. I thought he was only a ranger.
Only a ranger? Cried Gandalf. My dear Frodo, that is just what rangers are. The last remnant in the north of the great people. The men of the west. They have helped me before, and I shall need their help in the days to come. For we have reached Rivendell, but the ring is not yet at rest.
I suppose not, said Frodo. But so far my only thought has been to get here, and I hope that I shan't have to go any further.
On channel for zombies.
It's very pleasant just to rest. I have had a month of exile and adventure.
I'll play it from time to time.
That has been as much as I want.
He fell silent and shut his eyes. After a while he spoke again.
I have been reckoning, he said, but I can't bring the total up to October the 24th. It ought to be the 21st. We must have reached the ford by the 20th.
You have walked and reckoned more than is good for you, said Gandalf. How do the side and shoulder feel now?
I don't know, Frodo answered. They don't feel at all, which is an improvement, but...
He made an effort.
I can move my arm again a little. Yes, it's coming back to life. It's not cold, he added, touching his left hand with his right.
Good, said Gandalf. It is mending fast. You will soon be sound again. Elrond has cured you. He has tended you for days, ever since you were brought in.
Days? Said Frodo.
Well, 4 nights and 3 days to be exact. The elves brought you from the ford on the night of the 20th.
You've changed since you cut off my hair.
We have been terribly anxious, and Sam has hardly left your side, day or night, except to run messages. Elrond is a master of healing, but the weapons of our enemy are deadly. To tell you the truth, I had very little hope, for I suspected that there was some fragment of the blade still in the closed wound, but it could not be found until last night. Then Elrond removed a splinter. It was deeply buried, and it was working inwards.
How so?
Frodo shuddered, remembering the cruel knife with notched blade that had vanished in Strider's hands.
Don't be alarmed, said Gandalf. It is gone now. It has been melted, and it seems that hobbits fade very reluctantly. I have known strong warriors of the big people who would quickly have been overcome by that splinter which you bore for 17 days.
What would they have done to me? Asked Frodo. What were the riders trying to do?
They tried to pierce your heart with a Morgul knife which remains in the wound. If they had succeeded, you would have become like they are, only weaker, and under their command. You would have become a wraith, under the dominion of the Dark Lord, and he would have tormented you for trying to keep his ring. If any greater torment were possible than being robbed of it and seeing it on his hand.
Thank goodness I did not realize the horrible danger, said Frodo faintly. I was mortally afraid, of course, but if I had not known more, I would not have dared even to move. It is a marvel that I escaped.
Yes, fortune or fate have helped you, said Gandalf. Not to mention courage, for your heart was not touched, and only your shoulder was pierced.
134.
And that was because you resisted to the last. But it was a terribly narrow shave, so to speak. You were in gravest peril while you wore the ring. For then you were in half the Wraith world yourself, and they might have seized you. You could see them, and they could see you.
I know, said Frodo. They were terrible to behold. But why could we all see their horses?
Because they are real horses, just as the black robes are real robes that they wear to give shape to their nothingness when they have dealings with the living.
Then why do these black horses endure such riders? All other animals are terrified when they draw near, even the elf horse of Glorfindel. The dogs howl and the geese scream at them.
Because these horses are born and bred to the service of the Dark Lord in Mordor. Not all his servants and chattels are wraiths. There are orcs and trolls. There are wargs and werewolves. And there have been and still are many men, warriors and kings, that walk alive under the sun, and yet are under his sway. And their number is growing daily.
What about Rivendell and the elves? Is Rivendell safe?
Yes, at present, until all else is conquered. The elves may fear the Dark Lord, and they may fly before him, but never again will they listen to him or serve him. And here in Rivendell there live still some of his chief foes, The elven wise lords of the Eldar from beyond the
like
furthest seas. They do not fear the ringwraiths, but those who have dwelt in the blessed realm live at once in both worlds, and against both the seen and the unseen they have great power.
I thought that I saw a white figure that shone and did not grow dim like the others. Was that Glorfindel then?
Yes, you saw him for a moment as he is upon the other side, one of the mighty of the firstborn. He is an elf lord of a house of princes. Indeed, there is a power in Rivendell to withstand the might of Mordor for a while.
I may not even.
And elsewhere other powers still dwell. There is power too, of another kind in the Shire. But all such places will soon become islands under siege, if things go on as they are going. The Dark Lord is putting forth all his strength. Still, he said, standing suddenly up and sticking out his chin while his beard went stiff and straight like bristling wire, we must keep up our courage. You will soon be well if I do not talk you to death. You are in Rivendell, and you need not worry about anything for the present.
I haven't any courage to keep up, said Frodo. But I'm not worried at the moment. Just give me news of my friends and until the end of the affair at the ford, as I keep on asking and I shall be content for the present. After that I shall have another sleep, I think. But I shan't be able to close my eyes until you've finished the story for me.
Gandalf moved his chair to the bedside and took a good look at Frodo. The colour had come back to his face, and his eyes were clear and fully awake and aware. He was smiling, and there seemed to be little wrong with him. But to the wizard's eye there was a faint change. Just
true.
I was
like, damn.
About him.
I don't think I changed that much. I just got a haircut.
Outside upon the coverlet. Still, that must be expected.
I was
Gandalf
like,
himself.
shit.
Here's not
We
how
want
things
the old
to what will
Jack.
come in the end, not even Elrond can foretell.
Smoke the whole
Not evil, I
pack.
think. He may become like a glass filled with a clear light for eyes to see that can.
We want that old Kanye.
You look splendid, he said aloud. I will risk a brief tale without consulting Elrond, but quite brief, mind you, and then you must sleep again.
Love you, bro.
This is
Go
what
home,
happened, as far
what
as
you
I can
gonna do
gather.
about it?
The riders made straight for you, as soon as you fled. They did not need the guidance of their
What you
horses
gonna
any
do
longer.
about it?
You had become visible to them, being already on the threshold of their world. And also the ring drew them. Your friends sprang aside off the road, or they would have been ridden down. They knew that nothing could save you if the white horse could not. The riders were too swift to overtake, and too many to oppose. On foot, even Glorfindel and Aragorn together could not withstand all the 9 at once. When the ringwraiths swept by, your friends ran up behind. Close to the ford there is a small hollow beside the road, masked by a few stunted trees. There they hastily kindled fire, for Glorfindel knew that a flood would come down if the riders tried to cross, and then he would have to deal with any that were left on his side of the river. The moment the flood appeared, he rushed out, followed by Aragorn and the others with flaming brands. Caught between fire and water, and seeing an elf lord revealed in his wrath, they were dismayed, and their horses were stricken with madness. 3 were carried away by the first assault of the flood. The others were now hurled into the water by their horses and overwhelmed.
And is that the end of the Black Riders? Asked Frodo.
That's why we can't AFK, baby.
Their horses must have perished, and without them they are crippled, but the ringwraiths themselves cannot be so easily destroyed. However, there is nothing more to fear from them at the present.
Okay,
Your
we
friends
gotta
crossed
go,
after the
like...
flood has passed, and they found you lying on your face at the top of the bank, with a broken sword under you. The horse was standing guard beside you.
You got
You were
BO3 on your
cold.
PC?
They
No, I
feared
don't
that
have
you
it
were dead.
downloaded anymore.
Worse, Elrond's folk
I
met
deleted
them,
it.
carrying you slowly towards Rivendell.
Who made the flood?
Asked Frodo. Elrond commanded it, answered Gandalf. The river of this valley is under his power, and it will rise in anger when he has great need to bar the ford. As soon as the captain of the ringwraith strode into the water, the flood was released. If I may say so, I added a few touches of my own. You may not have noticed, but some of the waves took the form of great white horses with shining white riders, and there were many rolling and grinding boulders. For a moment I was afraid that we let loose too fierce a wrath, and the flood would get out of hand and wash you all away. There is great vigour in the waters that come down from the snows of the misty mountains.
Yes. It all comes back to me now, said Frodo. The tremendous roaring. I thought I was drowning, with my friends and enemies and all. but now we are safe. Gandalf looked quickly at Frodo, but he had shut his eyes. Yes, you are all safe for the present. Soon there will be feasting and merrymaking to celebrate the victory at the ford of Bruinen, and you will all be there in places of honor. Splendid, said Frodo. It is wonderful that Elrond and Glorfindel and such great lords, not to mention Strider, would take so much trouble and show me so much kindness. Well, there are many reasons why they should, said Gandalf, smiling. I am one reason. The ring is another. You are the ring bearer, and you are the heir of Bilbo, the ring finder. Oh, dear Bilbo, said Frodo sleepily. I wonder where he is. I wish he was here and could hear all about it. It would have made him laugh. The cow jumped over the moon, and the poor old troll. With that, he fell fast asleep. Frodo was now safe in the last homely house, east of the sea. That house was, as Bilbo had long ago reported, a perfect house. Whether you like food or sleep or storytelling or singing or just sitting and thinking best, or a pleasant mixture of them all. Merely to be there was a cure for weariness, fear, and sadness. As the evening drew on, Frodo woke up again, and he found that he no longer felt the need to rest or sleep, but had a mind for food and drink, and probably for singing and storytelling afterwards. He got out of bed, that his arm was already nearly as useful again as it ever had been. He found laid ready clean garments of green cloth that fitted him excellently. Looking in a mirror, he was startled to see a much thinner reflection of himself than he remembered. It looked remarkably like the young nephew of Bilbo who used to go tramping with his uncle in the Shire, but the eyes looked out at him thoughtfully. Yes, you have seen a thing or two since you last peeped out of the looking-glass, he said in his reflection. But now for a merrymaking. He stretched out his arms and whistled a tune. At that moment there was a knock on the door, and Sam came in. He ran to Frodo and took his left hand, awkwardly and shyly. He stroked it gently, and then he blushed and turned hastily away.
Ooh, Sam.
Hello, Sam, said Frodo. It's warm, said Sam. Meaning your hand, Mr. Frodo. It has felt so cold through the long nights. But glory and trumpets, he cried, turning around again with shining eyes and dancing on the floor. It's fine to see you up and yourself again, sir. Gandalf asked me to come and see if you were ready to come down, and I thought he was joking. I am ready, said Frodo. Let's go and look for the rest of the party. I can take you to them, sir, said Sam. It's a big house, this, and very peculiar. Always a bit more to discover, and no knowing what you will find around a corner. And elves, sir. Elves here and elves there. Some like kings, terrible and splendid, and some merry as children. And the music and the singing, not that I have had the time and heart for much listening since we got here, but I'm getting to know some of the ways of the place. I know what you've been doing, Sam, said Frodo, taking his arm. But you shall be merry tonight, and listen to your heart's content. Come on, guide me round the corner. Sam led him along several passages and down many steps, and out into a high garden above the steep bank of the river. He found his friend sitting in a porch on the side of the house looking east. Shadows had fallen in the valley below, but there was still a light on the faces of the mountains far above. The air was warm, the sound of running and falling water was loud, and the evening was filled with the faint scent of trees and flowers, as if summer still lingered in Elrond's gardens. Ha! Hooray! cried Pippin, springing up. Here is our noble cousin! Make way for Frodo! Lord of the Ring! Hush! said Gandalf from the shadows at the back of the porch.
Evil things do not come into this valley, but all the same we should not name him. The Lord of the Rings is not Frodo, but the Master of the Dark Tower of Mordor, whose power is again stretching out over the world. We are sitting in a fortress. Outside it is getting dark.
Gandalf has been saying many cheerful things like that, said Pippin. He thinks I need keeping in order, but it seems impossible somehow to feel gloomy or depressed in this place. I feel I could sing, if I knew the right song for the occasion. I feel like singing myself, laughed Frodo. Though at any moment I feel more like eating and drinking.
Level 22 next.
That will soon be cured, said Pippin. You have shown your usual cunning in getting up just in time for a meal. More than a meal, a feast. said Merry.
Oh,
as soon as
face!
Gandalf reported you were recovered, the preparations began. He had hardly finished speaking when they were summoned to the hall by the ringing of many bells. The whole of Elrond's house was filled with folk, elves for the most part, though there were few guests of other sorts. Elrond, as was his custom, sat in a great chair at the end of the long table upon the dais. And next to him, on the one side, sat Glorfindel, and on the other side sat Gandalf. Frodo looked at them in wonder, for he had never before seen Elrond, of whom so many tales spoke, and as they sat upon his right hand and his left, Glorfindel and even Gandalf, whom he thought he knew so well, were revealed as lords of dignity and power. Gandalf was shorter in stature than the other two, but his long white hair, his sweeping silver beard, and his broad shoulders made him look like some wise king of ancient legend. His aged face under the great snowy brows of his dark eyes was set like coals that could leap suddenly into a fire. Glorfindel was tall and straight. His hair was of shining gold, his face fair and young and fearless and full of joy. His eyes were bright and keen, and his voice like music. On his brow sat wisdom, and in his hand was strength. The face of Elrond was ageless, neither old nor young, though in it was written the memory of many things both glad and sorrowful. His hair was dark as the shadows of twilight, and upon it was set a circlet of silver. His eyes were grey as a clear evening, and in them was a light, like the light of stars. Venerable, he seemed as a king crowned with many winters, and yet hale as a tried warrior in the fullness of his strength. He was the Lord of Rivendell, and mighty among both elves and men. In the middle of the table, against the woven cloths upon the wall, there was a chair under a canopy, and there sat a lady fair to look upon. And so like was she in form of womanhood to Elrond, that Frodo guessed that she was one of his close kindred. Young she was, and yet not so. The braids of her dark hair were touched by no frost. Her white arms and clear face were flawless and smooth, and the light of stars was in her bright eyes, grey as a cloudless night. Yet queenly she looked, and thought and knowledge were in her glance, as of one who has known many things that the years bring. Above her brow, her head was covered with a cap of silver lace netted with small gems, glittering white, but her soft grey raiment had no ornament save a girdle of leaves wrought in silver. So it was that Frodo saw her whom few mortals had yet seen, Arwen, daughter of Elrond, with whom it was said that the likeness of Luthien had come on earth again, and she was called Undomiel, for she was the even star of her people. Long she had been in the land of her mother's kin, in Lorien, and was but lately returned to Rivendell to her father's house. But her brothers, Eladan and Elrohir, were now upon errantry, for they rode often far afield with the rangers of the north, forgetting never their mother's torment in the dens of the orcs. Such loveliness in living thing Frodo has never seen before, nor imagined in his mind, and he was both surprised and abashed to find that he had a seat at Elrond's table among all these folk so high and fair. Though he had a suitable chair and was raised upon several cushions, he felt very small, and rather out of place, but that feeling quickly passed. The feast was merry, and the food all that his hunger could desire. It was some time before he looked about him again, or even turned to his neighbours. He looked at first to his friends. Sam had begged to be allowed to wait on his master, but he had been told that for this time he was a guest of honour. Frodo can see him now, sitting with Pippin and Merry at the upper end of one of the side tables close to the die.
23, baby.
He could see no sign of Strider. Next to Frodo on his right sat a dwarf of important appearance, richly dressed. His beard, very long and forked, was white, nearly as white as the snow-white cloth of his garments. He wore a silver belt, and round his neck hung a chain of silver and diamonds. Frodo stopped eating to look at him. "Welcome and well met," said the dwarf, turning towards him. Then he actually rose from his seat and bowed. "Gloin,
At your service, he said and bowed still lower.
Frodo Baggins at your service and your family's, said Frodo correctly, rising in surprise and scattering his cushions. Am I right in guessing that you are the Glowing, of one of the 12 companions of the great Thorin Oakenshield?
Quite right, answered the dwarf, gathering up the cushions and courteously assisting Frodo back into his seat. And I do not ask, for I have already been told that you are the kinsman and adopted heir of our friend Bilbo the Renowned. Allow me to congratulate you on your recovery.
Thank you very much, said Frodo.
You have had some very strange adventures, I hear, said Gloin. I wonder greatly what brings 4 hobbits on so long a journey. Nothing like it has ever happened since Bilbo came with us, but perhaps I should not inquire too closely since Elrond and Gandalf do not seem disposed to talk of this.
I think we will not speak of it, at least not yet, said Frodo politely. He guessed that even in Elrond's house, the matter of the ring was not one for casual talk, and in any case he wished to forget his troubles for a time. But I am equally curious, he added, to learn what brings so important a dwarf from the Lonely Mountain.
Gloin looked at him. If you have not heard, I think we will not yet speak of that either. Master Elrond will summon us all here long, I believe, and then we shall all hear many things. But there is much else that may be told.
Throughout the rest of the meal they talked together, but Frodo listened more than he spoke, for the news of the Shire, apart from the ring, seemed small and far away, and unimportant, while Gloin had much to tell of events in the northern regions of Wilderland. Frodo learned that Grimbeorn the Old, son of Beorn, was now the lord of many sturdy men, and to their land between the mountains and Mirkwood neither orc nor wolf dared to go.
Indeed, said Gloin. If it were not for the Beornings, the passage from Dale to Rivendell would long ago have become impossible. They are valiant men and keep open the high pass and the ford of Carrock. But their toes are high,
grizzly bear.
he added with a shake of his head. And like Beorn of old, they are not over fond of dwarves. Still, they are trusty, and that is much in these days. Nowhere are there any men so friendly to us as the men of Dale. They are good folk, the Bardings. The grandson of Bard the Bowman rules them, grandson of Bane, son of Bard. He is a strong king, and his realm now reaches far
Ascension
south
classified.
east of Esgriff.
Nice.
And what of your own
Ascension's
people?
Easter egg? You
Asked
can.
Frodo.
You need 4
There is
people.
much to tell,
Kinda
good
dumb.
and bad, said Gloin. Yet it is mostly good. We have so far been fortunate.
I don't really
that we
like
do not
Ascension's
escape the
Easter egg.
shadow
It's
of
probably
these
like one of my
tidings.
least favorite.
If you really wish to hear of us, I will tell you tidings gladly, but stop me when you are weary.
So
Dwarves' tongues run
underwhelming.
on when speaking of their handiwork, they say.
At the time, it was cool, you know what I mean? But like.
And with that, Gloin embarked on a long account of the doings of the Dwarf Kingdom. He was delighted to have found so polite a listener, but Frodo showed no sign of weariness and made no attempt to change the subject, though actually he soon got rather lost among the strange names of people and places that he had never heard of before. He was interested, however, to hear that Dane was still king under the mountain, and was now old, having passed his 250th year, venerable and fabulously rich. Of the 10 companions who had survived the Battle of 5 Armies, 7 were still with him. Dwalin, Gloin, Dori, Nori, Bifur, Bofur, and Bombur. Bombur was now so fat that he could not move himself from his couch to his chair at table, and it took 6 young dwarfs to lift him. And what has become of Balin and Ori and Oin? Asked Frodo. A shadow passed over Gloin's face.
We do not know, he answered. It is largely
24, one more level to go,
babe.
babe.
To ask the advice of those that dwell in Rivendell. But tonight, let us speak of merrier things.
Gloin began then to talk of the works of his people, telling Frodo about their great labors.
Yo,
in Dale
Jack,
and under
you
the
like a
mountain.
movie, bro. If aliens
We
came
have
down
done
and said
well,
humans, they'd choose me.
But in
Why would they
metalwork,
choose
we cannot
me?
rival our fathers, many of whose secrets are lost.
You only hit the
We
switches
make
on
good
the monkey
armor
rounds?
and
Yeah.
swords, but we cannot again make mail or blade to match those that were made before the dragon.
And you only
came.
get one opportunity.
Only in mining
per
and
monkey
building
round.
have
Like,
we
if you
surpassed
fuck
the
it up,
old
you fuck it
days.
up. Kinda like,
You should
yeah,
see the
that's what we
waterways
do.
of Dale, Frodo, and the mountains and the pools.
Why would they study me?
You should
I'm
see
like
the
the least
stone-paved
interested human you
roads
can
of many
imagine. I'm a
colours,
fucking loser.
and the halls and cavernous
Street.
Hey, what are you talking about? Why would they study me?
Alas, I fear we cannot stay here any longer, said Aragorn. He looked towards the mountains and held up his sword.
You seem like pig, yeah.
Farewell,
definitely.
Gandalf, he cried. Did I not say to you, if you pass the doors of Moria, beware? Alas, that I spoke true.
The peak human being. Yeah, definitely, bro.
He turned to the company. We must do without her, he said. At least we may yet be avenged. Let us gird ourselves and weep no more. Come. We have a long road and much to do. They rose and looked about them. Northward the dale ran up into a glen of shadows, between two great arms of the mountains, above which 3 white peaks were shining. Celebdil, Fanuidhol, Caradras.
I haven't even done the Pack-a-Punch on Ascension.
Ahead of the
What?
glen, a torrent flowed like a white lace over an endless ladder of short falls, and a mist of foam hung in the air about the mountain's feet. Yonder is the Dimril Stair, said Aragorn, pointing to the falls. Down the deep cloven way that
Hardest
climbs
part of
beside the
Ascension
torrent
is
we
just
should have
getting
come.
4 people to do it.
If fortune had been kinder.
Oh, Caradras, less cruel,
said Gimli.
There he stands.
Wanna know what books are fire?
He
The
shook his
Halo
fist at the
books? What
furthest
Halo
of the
books is
snow-capped
there?
peaks
I
and
never
turned
knew there
away.
was Halo
To
books.
the east, the outflung arm of the mountains marched
What
to
are
a
the
sudden
Halo
end.
books? Is
The
it like
far lands could be
a
described beyond them,
animated, like
wide and
graphic
vague.
novel kind of thing?
To the
Or
south, the
like
misty
comic
mountains receded
book, or-
endlessly as far as sight could reach. Less than a mile away, and a little below them, for they still stood high up on the west side of the dale, there lay a mere.
Oh, never
It was long and oval,
yeah, fair. That's fair.
shaped like a great spearhead
I'm
thrust
the
deep into
opposite,
the northern
Hazy.
glen,
I know more
but its
about
southern end was
or
beyond the shadows
Ascension
under
than
the
I
sunlit
would
sky.
the other one.
Yet its waters were dark. A deep blue, like clear evening sky seen from a lamplit room. Its face was still and unruffled. About it lay a smooth sward, shelving down on all sides to its bare, unbroken rim.
There lies the Mirrormere. Deep
Really?
Caradras.
Said
But
Gimli
they're like
sadly.
novels. Wow.
I remember that he
No
said,
shit.
"May you have joy of the sight."
I never really understood much about Halo, to be honest.
How
Like always,
long I shall journey.
I have
ere I have
PlayStation.
joy again.
Never really. One time I ever only played Halo. I played front to start. It was Halo 3. at my buddy's dad's house.
The company
my
now
buddy's
went down
dad
the
sat
road
there
from the
getting
gates.
stoned in the back room.
It was rough and broken,
the entire
leading
weekend,
to a
and me and my
winding
boy
track
were
beneath
just
heather and
fucking
wind
playing
that
Halo
thrust amid the
till
cracking
like
stones.
fucking 8 o'clock in the
Still
morning.
it could be seen
and sleeping
that
all day
once long
and
ago
playing
a
Halo.
great paved way had wound upwards from the lowlands.
Dad's just like, you guys are
places
fucking
there were
awesome. You
ruined
guys never
works of
complain or
stone beside
nothing,
the
man.
path,
And he's just getting
and
stoned
mounds
and
of
shit.
green, topped with slender
And at the
birches,
time, obviously,
or
we
fir
didn't know he
trees
was getting
sighing in the
stoned.
wind. An eastward
But
bend led them hard by the
clearly
sward of
looking
wind,
back, and homie was
there,
just
not
ripping
far from
bongs.
the roadside, stood
That's
a
so
single
funny.
column broken at the top.
That is stood in stone,
cried Gimli.
The dream.
I cannot pass without turning aside for a moment to look at the wonder of the dale.
Be swift then, said Aragorn, looking back towards the gates. The sun sinks early. The orcs will not maybe come out till after dusk, but we must be far away before nightfall. The moon is almost spent.
Okay.
It will be dark tonight.
Come with me, Frodo.
Cried the dwarf, springing from the road.
I would not have you go without seeing Kelezaram.
Hang on here. Dude, he's got the Hobbit? No fucking way, chat. We're listening to the Hobbit after this. Oh my god. We're missing chapter... We're missing a huge chunk of the book here. What the fuck? Chapter 13 to 17. Oh, why is it? What the fuck? Homeboy, where's all of his... No shot. They did me so dirty. No fucking way, brother. Oh my god, man, that's so ignorant, dude. That is so fucking ignorant. Bruh, that's so fucked. That just ruined my whole day. I swear to God, that shit just...
The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien.
Bro, I'm fucking heartbroken. Where's this man's... Oh my god. Where's God? Oh my god, I can't believe that, bro. That's painful. That's painful. Well, I guess we just grind now with no background noise. And look at this, level 25 right here. Easy. Oh shit. Sprint, bitch. Sprint, bitch! Sprint! Sprint! Thieving 25, let's go. This is a pain in the ass. Okay, our bank's looking decent at least. What's up, Rocks? For fuck's sake. I forgot the 100 gold. Nah, fuck, man. We're so gay. I can't believe that. Dude, this is the gayest shit I've ever seen in my life. How many chapters? Ten chapters. Yeah, like, that's so fucked. We're missing 4 chapters and then half of the second book. What's up with that, homeboy? Does this have 0 fucking comments? That's so dumb, bro. I'm heartbroken. Only $1 a month. Fucking suck it. $22? Oh.
This book is largely concerned with hobbits and...
No, I'm glad I didn't buy that. Holy fuck. Imagine listening to that motherfucker, bro. Nah. How is this shit even possible? This is the... On YouTube, this guy made the best audiobook he could imagine. Probably that's ever been made. And YouTube takes half of that shit down? You fucking kidding me?
You ought to go quietly, and you ought to go soon, said Gandalf.
2 or 3 weeks had passed, and still Frodo made no sign of getting ready to go. I know.
It's just... Rocky, you need it outside, bud? Where is my book? Yeah, because it should go I should go to the Council of Elrond. The ring goes south, the journey dark. It's missing 4 like the best chapters of the book.
You ought to go.
Chapter 2 The Council of Elrond. Next day Frodo woke early.
I mean, that's one option until we get where we need to go.
Book 1 was very polite to him, calling him Master.
Chapter 2 The Council of Elrond.
Alright. I know we're just gonna have to go with this.
Chapter 2 The Council of Elrond. Next day Frodo woke early, feeling refreshed and well. He walked along the terraces above the loud-flowing Bruinen and watched the pale, cool sun rise above the far mountains and shine down,
7 people in here?
thin silver mist. The dew upon the yellow leaves was glimmering, and the woven nets of gossamer twinkled on every bush. Sam walked beside him, saying nothing, but sniffing the air, and looking every now and again with wonder in his eyes at the great heights in the east. The snow was white upon their peaks. On a seat cut in the stone beside a turn in the path, they came upon Gandalf and Bilbo deep in talk. "Hello, good morning," said Bilbo. "Feel ready for the great council?" "I feel ready for anything," answered Frodo. "But most of all I should like to go walking today and explore the valley. I should like to get into those pine woods up there." He pointed away far up the side of Rivendell to the north.
"You may have a chance later," said Gandalf, "but we can't make any plans yet. There's much to hear and decide today."
Suddenly, as they were talking, a single clear bell rang out.
"That is the warning bell for the Council of Elrond," cried Gandalf. "Come along now. Both you and Bilbo are wanted."
Frodo and Bilbo followed the wizard quickly along the winding path back to the house. Behind them, uninvited and for the moment forgotten, trotted Sam. Gandalf led them to the porch where Frodo had found his friends the evening before. The light of the clear autumn morning was now glowing in the valley. The noise of bubbling waters came up from the foaming riverbed. Birds were singing, and a wholesome peace lay on the land. To Frodo, his dangerous flight, and the rumours of the darkness growing in the world outside, already seemed only the memories of a troubled dream. But the faces that were turned to meet them as they entered were grave. Elrond was there, and several others were seated in silence about him. Frodo saw Glorfindel and Gloin, and in a corner alone Strider was sitting, clad in his travel-worn clothes again. Elrond drew Frodo to a seat by his side, and presented him to the company, saying, "Here, my friends, is the hobbit, Frodo, son of Drogo. Few have ever come hither through greater peril, or on an errand more urgent." He then pointed out and named those whom Frodo had not met before. There was a younger dwarf at Gloin's side, his son Gimli. Beside Glorfindel there were several other councillors of Elrond's household, of whom Erestor was the chief, and with him was Galdor, an elf from the Grey Havens, who had come on an errand from Círdan the shipwright. There was also a strange elf clad in green and brown, Legolas, a messenger from his father, Thranduil, the king of the elves of northern Mirkwood.
Nah, you keep going,
And seated a little apart was a tall man with a fair and a noble face, dark-haired and grey-eyed, proud and stern of glance. He was cloaked and booted,
nah,
as if for a
you
journey
little
on horseback.
bitch.
And indeed, though his garments were rich,
Keep going,
and
you
his
fucking
cloak
little
was lined with fur,
bastard.
they were stained with long travel. He had a collar of silver in which a single white stone was set. His locks were shorn about his shoulders.
Bro.
On a baldric he wore a great horn tipped with silver that now was laid upon his knees. He gazed at Frodo and Bilbo with sudden wonder. "Here," said Elrond, turning to Gandalf, "is Boromir, a man from the south. He arrived in the grey morning, and seeks for counsel. I have bidden him to be present, for here his questions will be answered."
There we go, get in there, you little rat.
Not all that was spoken and debated in the council need now be told. Much was said of events in the world outside, especially in the south, and in the wide lands east
I'll
of
let
the
you out,
mountains.
bud.
Of these things Frodo had already
Ciao, I'll
heard
be right
many
back.
rumors, but the tale of
Your
Gloin
mans
was
will
new
be
to
right
him,
back.
and when the dwarf spoke he listened attentively. It appeared that amid the splendour of their works of hand, the hearts of the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain were troubled. "It is now many years ago," said Gloin, "that a shadow of disquiet fell upon our people. Whence it came we did not at first perceive. Words began to be whispered in secret. It was said that we were hemmed in a narrow place, and that greater wealth and splendour would be found in a wider world. Some spoke of Moria, the mighty works of our fathers that are called in our own tongue Khazad-dûm, and they declared that now at last we had the powers and numbers to return." Gloin sighed. "Moria, Moria, wonder of the northern world. Too deep we delved there, and woke the nameless fear. Long have its vast mansions lain empty, since the children of Durin fled. But now we spoke of it again with longing, and yet with dread. For no dwarf has dared to pass the doors of Khazad-dûm for many lives of kings, save Thror only, and he perished. At last, however,
Alright, chat. I'm gonna go downstairs and do a puzzle with my mom.
Go, and though Dane did not give leave willingly, he took with him Ori and Oin and many of our folk,
yeah.
and they went away south.
Peace.
That was nigh on 30
Appreciate y'all
years
for
ago.
chilling.
For a while we had news, and it seemed